Okay, before we continue in the Gemara of Chanukah, there's a very interesting concept brought. There's two rabbinic Yomim Tovim, right? There's Chanukah and there's Purim. Now Purim, there's a whole tractate in Mishnah and Gemara called Megillah that speaks all the laws of Purim. The Megillah, the meal, all the laws. There's a Mishnayis, a Mesechta in Gemara called Megillah. There is no Mesechta called Chanukah. The only mention of Chanukah is what's called Braise. The Gemara here in Shabbos being on Torah Rabbanan learned. There's only, I believe, twice throughout the entire Mishnayis a mention of Chanukah. Once in Bikurim, about bringing Bikurim, how late you could bring Bikurim until Chanukah. And in Bava Kama, the sixth parak, there's a din about guy had his Chanukah candles outside the house, and a camel loaded up with flax caught fire, and they burnt down. Who has to pay? There's only twice in the entire Mishnah a mention of Chanukah. Like this, there's no tractate of Chanukah, and so the commentators explain why is that. Because we know after the story of Chanukah, the Hashmonaim took over the kingdom of the Bnei Yisrael. And Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, who compiled Mishnah, was a descendant of David HaMelech. And in fact, the Chachamim disagreed with the fact that the Hashmonaim or Kohanim became kings. Kahuna belongs to the Kohanim, kingdom belongs to royalty, belongs to Bais David HaMelech's family from Shevet Yehuda. So not to punish him, so to speak, but to show that they did something wrong. So Rabbi Yehuda Anasi did not write a tractate of Chanukah. It's just mentioned in a Braisa, which means it was left outside of the Mishnah. It's not an interesting thing. The commentators explain why there's no Gemara called Chanukah when we have a Gemara called Megillah. Okay, so now the Gemara says, my Chanukah. Rashi says, the Gemara's question, my Chanukah, doesn't mean what is Chanukah. We know what Chanukah is. The question Rashi says, on which miracle did they establish the Yom Tov of Chanukah? Because again, like we spoke Shabbos, there's two different things that happened. They won the war, which was one miracle, and then the miracle with the oil, that instead of 1 day, it lasted 8 days. So there are two different miracles. So the Gemara's question is, for which miracle did they establish the Yom Tov of Chanukah? So the Gemara says, the Torah Rabbanon Lubavitch, the 25th of Kislev is the days of Chanukah, 8 days. You're now to make eulogies. Even if there's a funeral, halachically you're not allowed to make a eulogy at a funeral unless if it's a chacham and he's there present. You're not allowed to fast. It's forbidden to fast. Even somebody getting married on Chanukah, normally the chassan and kala fast the day of the wedding. Chanukah you don't fast. Why? What happened? When the Yevanim, the Greeks, came into the Bais Din, they impurified all the oil that was there. And therefore, when the Hashmonaim won back over the Greeks, they searched all over the Bais Din. They only found one little jug of oil, that had the seal of the Kohen Gadol, so they knew that it wasn't defiled by the Greeks. It was only enough to light 1 day. A miracle happened. The oil burned for 8 days. This is a very well-known thing, right? It's enough oil to burn 1 day, it burnt 8 days. Shana Cheres, the next year, Kavim va'asi Yomim Tovim b'halal v'hidah. So Chachamim, that generation, they instituted the Yom Tov of Chanukah that you have to say Halal, and Hidah means Ala Nisim. So first of all, there's a few things over here. Number one, why did it take 8 days? Now, as you see, the menorah, the candle, the jug burned for 8 days because it took them 8 days to get new oil. So the Mefarshim explained there was two reasons for that. Either the place where they got the oil was 4 days away. They didn't have overnight in those days. So it took them 4 days to get there, 4 days back. So it took 8 days until they were able to have new pure oil. Other opinions say because the Jews were fighting a war, they touched dead bodies of the Greeks, so they all became tamei. If they became tamei, you need the paraduma, so you need the ashes. You tamei for 7 days, like it says the beginning of Parshas Chukas. So therefore it took either because it took 8 days to get new oil, or just they were tamei for 7 days and they didn't get new oil until then. So there's a famous question of the Bais Yosef, very famous question that everybody tries to answer throughout history. In fact, there's a sefer that has 100 answers to the Bais Yosef's question. And the Bais Yosef's question is the following. If there was enough oil to last 1 day, so the miracle wasn't for 8 days. The miracle was only for 7 days. So why are we celebrating Chanukah 8 days? 1 day there was enough oil. So how many days was a miracle? 7 days. So why are we celebrating, the Gemara says, 8 days? So the Bais Yosef himself answers basically 3 answers. But then again, there's a lot of different answers. One answer the Bais Yosef gives is they only, because they knew they needed it for 8 days, so they only put 1/8 of the jug in each one of the candles. And that 1/8 burnt the whole night. Or another answer is they put all the oil in and only 1/8 of it burnt. Or another answer he gives that when they filled the oil, the menorah, so the jug refilled itself. So therefore even the first day there was actually a miracle, that they saw a miracle with the oil. Other Mefarshim say very simply, the first day of Chanukah was not for the oil, the first day that they won the war. So that's the first day of Chanukah. And the 7 days is talking for the menorah. Okay. Then the Gemara says like this. Okay, the Darash Amar Rav Kahana, Darash Rav Nosson ben Yuminim Shmei Rav Tanchum. Rav Kahana said, Rav Nosson ben Yuminim, he said the name of Rav Tanchum, Ner Shel Chanukah, if you light the menorah, Lemanicha Lemayli Michof Amma, higher than 20 cubits. An amma is it's called a cubit, which is anywhere between 1.5 feet and 2 feet. So if you have a menorah, a Chanukah menorah higher than 20 amas is 30 feet, let's say, it's possible, because sukkah or kumavi. Just like the schach of the sukkah cannot be from the floor of the sukkah more than 20 amas high, or the same thing, a mavoi, when you made a lechi, that people have to see it's closed off. So the Gemara says like this, when a person walks in the street and you face straight, your eyes can see, just looking straight, up to 20 amas. If you want to see more than that, then you have to look up. So they want that people should be able to see the Chanukah menorah. That's why, by the way, if 20 amas is from the floor of the house, not if you're on the 10th story of a building, a 20th floor, you can still light the menorah in your house because it's from the floor of the house. But if you notice, the big Chanukah menorahs that Chabad makes all over the world, none of them are more than 30, less than 30 feet high. Because otherwise it's a public menorah, then you're making a brach on it, so then you have to make sure it's not more than 20 amma. So many of them are like just the right amount under 20 amma that they should be able to make a bracha at the public menorah lighting. No, you're not yatzim from a public menorah lighting.
Is that from the flame or from the bottom of the candle?
From the flame. It's a good point. It's from the flame, 20 amas. The flame cannot be more than 30 feet off the ground. The same thing, lechatchila, it says in halacha, the preferred height of the menorah should be between 3 tvachim and 10 tvachim, which are like 9.5 inches to 30 inches. Yeah? So now the question is, many people have tall menorahs. It's like this menorah, okay? I mean, this is a show, it's a whole different story. But let's say you have this menorah in your house. So do you count from the flame or do you count from the floor? So the answer is halacha, you count from the flame. I mean, it's halachically kosher. It's, up to 30 feet. What? Nobody is yaitze with the public menorah. 1 second. One second. Even a guy that lights in shul, that fine gentleman that lights in shul, he's not yaitze. He has to go. 1 second. He has to go home and light again. The only difference it says is that let's say he lives alone, and he lit the menorah in shul, and he said shechionu. So when he goes home, he doesn't make shechionu again. But he's not yaitze in shul. Nobody's yaitze in shul. You have to go home and light your own menorah. Number one, because you need to light the menorah in the house you're sleeping in. So.
But if no one's yotze, what does it matter if it's...
Because it's still the publicity of the miracle, and it has to be halachically correct. In other words, it has to be halachically correct. This is pretty, I don't know if this is 30 feet, I don't know. Mendel would know better how high. But let's say this is more than 30 feet, let's say, and you light it all the way up there, then you couldn't make a bracha in shul either.
If nobody's yotze, why make a full bracha then? Like zero?
As we were just talking, because it's not nobody's yotze, but it's the concept of publicity of the mitzvah, of the miracle.
That's the same bracha.
But you should know, you can only make a bracha, there's 10 Jews in shul. Or Poskim write, if you know for sure there's going to be 10 Jews coming. But if you know for sure, somebody in fact called me about that today. If you know for sure you're not going to have a minyan, there's going to be 5 people, that's it. You're just having you don't make a bracha. You need to have, because then when it's a minyan, it's a tzibur, then you're publicizing the miracle, then you can make a bracha in shul. But nobody's yaitza, the lighting of the menorah in shul. Machat Shinas and Amazing Machaveva Mayin Kim Shila Gal Teira Chanan Rakashim Radat Gurbachu Zak Sofi Gechivel Am Termit